What if staying true to your mission meant you actually had to go back and incorporate advice you once ignored? If you're new here, hi, I'm Vicky, and I started Aging on Your Terms originally as a creative outlet when I became a caregiver, and then it morphed into more of a mission that I wanted to share what my family was going through and had gone through in the past to try to motivate you to plan for the life you want to live as you age so you can actually age on your terms. So when my friend Rolanda Michelle gave me some unsolicited advice that sounded way too businessy, I did like most people. I ignored it because it wasn't what I wanted to do. But over time, I began to realize that if I wanted to truly be able to make this sustainable, I was going to have to start incorporating some of the things that she said to me. So join us in this honest conversation where we talk about the advice I ignored, when it finally clicked that I needed to incorporate it, and how I'm actually using it in a way that I can still stay true to my values.
I don't know where you want to start about you, Miss Lady. I just want to say I'm proud of you. I knew you can do it. I knew you were going to do it. I just knew that you just had to find your own way to it. And and actually that's everybody's business journey.
I wanted to have this talk with you today because people who know me are not going to believe how this happened. They're not going to believe how I didn't want to do it. So thank you for joining me today to talk about this. But I think I want
Wait,
to
what?
go.
You kind of started working with me out of spite almost of the other guy that was trying to make you get a job and you're like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, that's not a coach doesn't do that. Like that's not what a coach is supposed to do. You do what I say type of thing. And that's how we kind of, started on this part of it. I mean, of course, we've known each other for years working, but it's just funny. I just think it was kind of funny. You were trying to not do anything. You just were just chilling.
So I'm glad that you brought that up. So I think, to tell the story of us, we're going to go back to that. We're going to start there. So, we worked together for a while in corporate America, and then our paths kind of went in different directions and then came back into your line of sight after I got laid off because I'm like, oh my God, she's got her little business going and I'm promoting it out to all my friends who want to start small business. It ain't about me. This is about me helping them. I'm sharing your information. And then you call me and you try to convince me to come work for you. And I'm like, nope, I can't do corporate America ever, 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 never again. And I realize you are not corporate America, but you work with them. So I couldn't do that. And then we started talking about, being laid off and how I needed to find something to do with myself to not go crazy from being a caregiver. And I was completely venting to you about the outplacement coach that I was given when I was laid off. That every time I get on the phone and I tell her I'm retired and I just want to pursue some hobbies, she's like in my ear, you need a business, you need to be making money. And then she hooks me up with some guy who's also in the program. And I'm telling him what I want to do. Okay, I'm thinking I want to start a blog and I want to start just sharing my family experiences with people so that, they don't repeat the same mistakes. And he's all in my ear telling me, you need to come work for me and you need to start writing blogs about people and their benefits so that they can understand it because 20-year-olds lost it. I go, did you not hear anything that I just said that I'm talking about aging? And I got so fed up, I just stopped talking to everybody in that program because I just really felt it was just a corporate propaganda machine trying to get me to do what they wanted and not listen to me. And I'm sorry, I'm now 55 years old. I'm done doing what other people want me to do.
Well, yes. That's where it started. And the funny thing is like when I saw you and I was like, "Oh, how you doing? What are you doing?" Right? And then you're like, "Oh, I'm retired." I'm like, "Oh yeah. Yeah, I did." I was like, "Oh wow, she could help me." Like, she has the go ahead. And then when you said you wanted to be retired, I'm like, "Okay. All right. You're retired. Hopefully you're retired like my aunt who retired and went back to work." Several times. But you wanted to be retired, and I was like, "Okay." And when you kept telling me about the coach that you had, I was so mad. Like, I think I was madder than you were sometimes. I'm like, "That is not what you're supposed to do. That's not how it is. You're supposed to pick your own path. You're supposed to be supported." And I just felt that was so wrong because just to say, like, I guess because I was so passionate about it was because maybe 2 years before that, I developed a program that I was going to implement, give to bigger corporations to teach them how to mentor and
Hmm.
how to do it right. Because I've been in organizations and they had these mentorship programs, these coaching, internal coaching, and all that, and it just wasn't working. So I
Hmm.
guess you came in a moment where I was kind of raw, and I was like, oh, and also at a moment when I started doing the business classes,
Hmm.
right? It, uh,
Yes.
it kind of it kind of like the why I reached out to you, and I saw you doing stuff and we're talking, and it kind of was like, oh, that it just went totally in a different direction. And always in my back of my mind, I said, she'll come help me out and work with me, or but she'll work with me. She'll work with me. But now I know. I gave up. I gave up. I gave up over a year ago.
And I'm going to repeat that here so that other people can hear exactly what I said to you then. I am all in or all out. And I knew that with taking care of two older people, I did not want to have to say, I can't work this week or I can't work this month and let you down.
I know you did say that, and I kept saying, "Oh, it's okay. Whatever you can give me." I was like, "Oh, whatever." I was whatever time you can give me. I was a groupie at that moment. Whatever.
And I
But I
wanted to
understood
preserve the
that.
friendship because I wanted to be like, yeah, she understands now, but I don't think she understands the chaos that is my life right now and just how out of sorts it's going to make me in this beginning phase. And then, oh my gosh, it got even worse than I thought it would get. So, I checked out, I started a blog in November 1st, shut down November 12th, and didn't get touched again till May.
Yeah, I
And,
remember. I remember. But
but
remember too, like, but for us, just the people know that you knew that I understood where you were coming from because of my situation with my son,
yes.
right? You know what I'm saying? So I understand what it is to be a caregiver, and sometimes, and that's why I say went to with people and what that work with me. I never, I always say I don't say people work for me. I always say people work with me.
Hmm.
That I'm always flexible in that way because when my son was diagnosed, with cancer those years ago, if I was in the department or working with the management that I was working with, I would just say that year before, oh, I
Hmm.
would have lost my job. I,
Hmm.
I I would have absolutely lost my job. But the management that I work for, the my VP, she was very open. My manager was very open, very flexible, and they understood. So I guess for me, I always try to pay that part forward. And I think anybody's running a business, we have to run our businesses and we have to get those things done. But if the communication lines are open and you know where
Hmm.
everybody is, I don't think there's a problem with people taking time off and do it. Because first of all, you have to take care of your family, right?
Hmm.
That's just what it is. You just have to take care of your family. You only get one family. You can get another job, but you're never going to get another mom. You're never going to get another, well, you can get another kid, but it won't be the same kid, right? Okay. I have to be careful with that, right? It won't be the same person. To me, I understood it and I respected that. And I knew that the blog that you were creating was similar to how I got on social media, actually.
Hmm.
Because I got on Facebook during the time my son was sick, and I just was using it as an outlet of, hey guys, I just want to think about something else than what's going on in my life.
Yes.
And you started using that blog that way, and I saw that it was therapeutic for you. I knew you, right? I knew that you were going to do everything 100% the best. Like, I mean, you're because you're not you don't cut corners in anything that you do. So I was like, she'll figure out what she's really doing, and she'll figure out her voice. And I told you to find your voice and whatever your voice is, because the beautiful thing about it was, and I told you, it's like you don't really need anybody to like what you're doing, right?
Hmm.
You don't have to sit there and dance around and make sure, send me $1 on Cash App every 5 minutes. You don't have to do that, right?
Right.
So you were doing it from the joy and just giving that information. I mean, of course, it wasn't all joy with the pain, right?
Hmm.
Of all the stuff that you went through, but it was teaching people like, don't do this,
Yes.
right? Don't do that. Don't wait for this because this can happen. And I think that was just like a beautiful thing.
It's funny because it started off as seven people from my old job says, wait a minute, how are we going to get updates on your in-laws? Who's going to tell me that I have to have a will? Who's going to tell me this and that and the other? And so I'm like, well, you guys still have my phone number. You can call me. And then it was like, wait a minute. I'm getting like text messages and calls like 4 or 5 times a day since I left. And I'm like ignoring calls, I'm ignoring texts because caregiving kind of ramped up and I felt bad. So I told everybody, I said, look, I think what I'm going to do is I can either put this on Facebook or put this on a blog. And then I thought, okay, well, I don't want to open up my private Facebook to everybody either. So I came up with the blog. And that was actually really therapeutic for me because I had to learn how to build my own website, all that stuff. And then it happened.
It,
You know,
it,
well, this
it,
is really good, but you should do video.
wait. The funny thing is when you start doing your videos and you're like, oh, I'm doing like cartoons. I'm like, oh, that's cute. So, oh, but I'm using my real voice. And I was like, okay, like, I don't want to show my face. I'm like,
I did not want to
okay.
show my face. I mean, come on now. As a caregiver with zero sleep, like my bags were down to here. I was always tired. And I'm like, when am I going to even find time to record? So I could do voiceovers, looking like, crazy. I didn't have to have on my Judy Jetson morning mask or anything like that. So, what we tried the avatar. And of course, here you come again. Vicky, that ain't gonna work. Nobody wants to take advice from a cartoon. No, Rolanda, I got this. Leave me alone.
And I was like, okay. I was like, well, people want to see your face so they can connect with you, and you're like, oh, well, I have to say, it wasn't just me. Wasn't just me because
No,
when
it
you're in the
wasn't.
classes, it was everybody that was in it. And I love the fact that our little group that we had when we, the pilot group for, the academy, the business academy, everybody was so supportive,
Hmm.
right? And everybody had good ideas. And when people had bad days, it was just like I just allowed people to have bad days, and everybody just pour into them.
Hmm.
And because even though it might have pushed our schedule off, we adjusted. We always adjusted,
Hmm.
but sometimes people just needed to hear that we love you, we got you, we see you,
Hmm.
and so sometimes I would say something, and I know that as Loretta, you know who Loretta is, right? We're going to get in there and be, oh, baby, you're okay. She was a resident mother for everybody in the group.
Yes.
So I knew that you're going to get that in that encouragement. Then you got it elsewhere. So it's like, okay, so she knows that it's not just us.
Yeah. And let's go back to that because like I said, all this was start going on and you started your small business academy and you were just piloting all of your knowledge sharing into a group course. And you had a lot of people you knew sit in and try to help you with your course. But sneakily, you were helping us and telling us that all the stuff we wanted to do needed to be a business.
The people said that when I taught you guys how to do the business plan, and then she said, "Oh, you think you're so slick? You think you're so sneaky?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Oh, I'm looking at the business plan, and I know how to do this, and you taught me how to do a business plan." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I wasn't. You weren't supposed to know that I was teaching you how to do a business plan all this time." For me, it was something to me creating those classes, getting the feedback, getting that energy, and I
Uh-huh.
loved it because I mean, we went from ideation to sales. I mean, we went through the whole gambit of things, and ideation was the part that everybody had so many great ideas, and you were so funny because you had a great idea, but you were like, "This is not a business. This is my passion project."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, you can have a passion project. Like, I said, well, what's wrong with your passion project possibly making you money? You're like, yeah, but I just want you to know that this is a passion project. It's not a business. And I was like, okay, it's a passion project.
I'm very passionate about my project. Stop calling it a business. But it's funny because I had to start putting on that business hat because when you have a passion project, all you can see is your passion. All you can see are the things and the ways that you want to help. But in the back end, you're racking up debt. And for me, it wasn't a lot of debt. And I'll be completely honest, so I, had to pay for my website domain. I had to pay for my hosting and security. When I messed up my website, I had to get my friend to come in and fix it for me. I learned a lot about that. And so, yeah, it's a project, but it still is kind of a business. And if you take what Rolanda's saying, put it in a business plan so that you can see exactly what you're doing. Yeah, it can still be a hobby, but if you have a business plan that shows you, hey, you now have a choice. Are you going to buy groceries or are you going to put that money into your hobby? And so that's where it took on a different reality for me was, yeah, it's a passion project, but I got to start incorporating the things that Rolanda's saying to me so that I don't wake up one day and my husband tells me, you got to go back to work because you just spent $50,000 on a hobby.
That part. I asked you, I said, you guys are gonna even have a special hobby or you're gonna have a business. And it doesn't mean that,
Mhm.
I don't care if you're making, $500,000, $5 million a year, or 50 grand a year, or even whatever, or breaking even. What I want you to do is making sure that you're looking at it, because remember, I always talk about knowing your numbers, right?
Yes.
Because some people are okay with spending the money, and they may have all the money that they need to spend and they can do those things, but most of us don't have it, and we need to
Hmm.
figure out how we're going to move forward, because knowing your numbers, I told you, it was like just like you, right?
Hmm.
Aging on your own. So let's tie this back in together. You need to know your high blood pressure. You need
Yes.
to know your sugar levels, right?
Hmm.
But you need to know your BMI. You need to
Hmm.
know all of those things. Those are your numbers for your body that you need. And just like your business has numbers too, for it to see if it's healthy or not, you need to know those numbers. And a lot of times people don't realize it. I mean, you guys, I was in a
Hmm.
class. I was very honest about some of the horror stories that I had with my small business clients, and I say horror because I felt horrible because they didn't realize that they were thinking they were being competitive with their
Hmm.
pricing and this and that, whatever, and their pays. And I'm like, do you realize that every single quarter you're losing $250,000? I'm like, huh?
Michael
You
and I were
know?
just laughing at that because I love to watch I Love Lucy, and there's an episode where her and Ethel go into making salad dressing, and all they did was just price it. They didn't think about the jars, the shipping, the ingredients, any of that stuff. And when Ricky sat down and did the math, he's like, "You're losing 5 cents a jar on everything you make." She goes, "That's okay. We'll make it up in volume."
And that's what most people do, because when you're having a passion project, you want to create, you're creating, you're getting this information out there. There's other people that are doing holistic care. Some people are making holistic products. Some people are doing all kinds of things that mean so much to them as an
Mm.
individual. And that's great, right?
Right.
That's absolutely great. But there's other people that are doing similar things that are becoming rich. And why can't you be one of those people? And the reason why they're doing that is because they're making sure, as I say, the dollars make sense. The funniest thing that we did that I was surprised that everybody was like, was the profit class. When I was teaching people how to make sure they were profitable, I knew that I could actually take a profit class and put it somewhere and everybody would need it. But the people that, I don't even think you guys realized you needed it until you were in that class. I think a lot of people just were like, oh, I get it, profit. I just sold it for more than what I. But a lot of people didn't take into consideration all the overhead, or like you were talking about the bottles, the labels, the this and the
Hmm.
packaging, and so many things that when people are thinking about profiting, and then when I was teaching people about pricing strategies to make sure they were profitable and how to make a leeway, and so they were, oh well, I'm only going to make this. I'm like, but then you can't have a sale. People love a sale. It was just funny to me when I told clients that. They're like, oh,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why my name is a coach sultan, because even though when I'm a consultant, I'm still kind of coaching them to like, think about this. Think about that. I don't think I could do one without the other. Because I mean, even though I was coaching you guys with that class, I want to doing consulting work with you guys too, asking, very specific questions about your businesses, because I want everybody to be happy. And I look at you, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, Vicky is starting to launch her store. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy for Vicky. I miss
Hmm.
my girl. And it's just because we became in that little pod,
Hmm.
we became a family, and we actually started caring about each other
Hmm.
on it. Not just, oh, I want your business to be, just you as an individual,
Hmm.
because we understood the first thing I told you guys, as a small business owner, your business is you, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not okay, your business won't be okay.
And I know that I was really tripping you out when I kept saying the knowledge that I have, I always want that to be free, because in this world with people losing their jobs and the economy being the way it was, just because I had to struggle to learn it, I just want to freely share this. And that's why there was no commercials. I shouldn't say commercials, no ads on my blog. You can just go ahead and read it without having to swat down ads. Going over to YouTube, I don't have control over that. They're going to play ads as much as they want to. And so, yeah, of course, when the time came and they, brought me into the YouTube partner program, yeah, I took it because if not, they get 100% of the ads they run on my videos regardless. So yeah, I went ahead and signed up and took that, but I'm not charging anybody. It's just their watch time that they were normally giving YouTube. And that's where I was struggling with is I don't want people for lack of money to have to struggle if what I know can help them. And so that's why that will always be free. Yeah, I went into merch, but it took a while for me to want to do merch because it had to mean something to me. It had to resonate with me, and it had to be something that I'm not just out there just trying to reimagine the shirts that I'm wearing from other people, one, stealing business from them and then having them mad at me. And two, what does it have to do with what I'm trying to share with the world? So I think now, 2 years later, was a better time for me to get into that mindset than it was 2 years ago.
Absolutely. So let me just say this is that now my merch is, my little t-shirt store, it's my passion project because I've been designing t-shirts ever since for the past decade. I just never promoted them out there. And so I understand you want to do something that's good for you. And also, like, as you know, you already know this, that, even though I'm a consultant and I do coaching, and yes, people need, I need to make money that way. But I also do, through Eventbrite, I run free classes because of the
Right.
same thing, because people are trying to start businesses. People are, and I know where the main issue and it was your issue. Everybody in that class, the first thing that everybody had to do, and I said the first step in every journey is your mindset, right?
Yes.
And so I give that class away for free because you will not see the value of anything else if you don't
Hmm.
change your mindset, right?
Yep.
And even with career, with the career journey, because people getting laid off, and I was laid off before. I know how it feels, just you left the company that you were at for an extended period of time, and you said, okay, I can leave now, right? But some people aren't in the situation that
Right.
you were in when that came about for you. Some people are like, wait, I have 3 kids in college, and I
Yes.
have my mortgage, and I still have this, and I'm single, and I don't have a husband, I don't have a wife, or I don't have whatever it is that they're going on. And I know how that feels, right? I know
Hmm.
that's how that feels, and that's why I do too give out a lot of free classes
Hmm.
on Eventbrite. And when people come to my Eventbrite, if you ever came to my Eventbrite, you'll know that I once all that stuff is off, of course I have to do my promotion of what I want you to the next step. I cut the recorder off and we talk. I like that better than I like I like talking to people and figuring out what it is and seeing what it is. I mean, you guys are funny. I mean, well, one of the person, the photographer guy that was there, he passed away, but
Yeah.
um when he was in class and he was like, "Oh, I'm not making any money." Remember that day he just was
Yes.
not like feeling it. And then I said, "Do this." And I said, "Now you make money. No, pay attention right now." And he was like, "Where do you come up with these ideas?" I'm like, "I don't
Mhm.
know."
And I found that interesting too because we were all in the class and all of us on our different journeys and our different paths were all giving him advice on what he could do with his business. And I think that was a shock to him too that, wait a minute, these ladies were actually listening to me.
So everybody was doing something different.
Hmm.
Nobody was doing the same thing. Nobody. But at the end, everybody saw the value that what the other person was trying to bring to market.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's it. And it was very fun and it was very interesting to see it. And now looking at where you are, because YouTube, and I said, oh, you know what? And I told you, I said, I know what you should use YouTube for, but I don't know how to use it like that, right? And you're like, okay. And I was like, but that's where you should go. That's where you are. And now you see that it's paying off, like, what I mean? Because I knew marketing researchers told me where you should go. I just was like, okay, now how to use it,
Hmm.
you won't have to figure it out because any
Yeah.
marketing is trial and error. You know what I mean?
I think for me, it was that social media stigma of you got to be Instagram perfect or no one's going to want to hear what you have to say. Plus the fact that what I'm talking about, nobody wants to hear, do you have a will? Well, here, let me tell you what happened to my family. Do you have a trust? Let me tell you what happened to my family. When you don't ask for help, let me tell you what happened to my family. And so I was like really reluctant to put myself out there for people to tell me, go away or there just be crickets. And the very first time that I got a comment that wasn't from family, oh my God, I was through the moon. Like, oh my God, I reached somebody. That's one less person that's going to go through this. And I wasn't getting a lot of views. I still don't get a lot of views on my videos, but every single view tells me I'm still doing the right thing. And
Right.
I have another YouTube friend David in Progress, and he said, just imagine that, you've got 100 people that watched your video. Put those 100 people in your house. That's a lot of people. So be proud that 100 people watched your video. And that's exactly it. I mean, even when I was a cartoon, I was like surprised how many people would actually watch them. Yeah, I was 20, 30, 40 here, but it was still 20, 30, 40 people who were like, oh my God, my parents did that. Oh my God, my grandparents did that. And it's like, okay, Rolanda was right. I'm getting more connection here, so I know I'm doing it right. With the blog, people don't leave comments as freely as they do on YouTube. So I didn't know if I was reaching people, if it was I was helping people. And that was the whole goal for me was, yeah, I could just sit out there and write into oblivion, but I didn't know if I was helping anybody. And I know that kind of sounds a little bit narcissistic.
No,
but
no.
but the feedback wasn't there, so I didn't know what am I doing. And so coming to YouTube, that you were right. Again, I tell you, you were right. But that's exactly what happened when we were talking about giving away stuff for free. Was that's what kept coming across my LinkedIn feed with you. I'm like, she's got all these courses and she's doing these, weekly free coaching sessions, ask a consultant. And so I'm
Yeah.
sharing that with all of my friends who were recently laid off and trying to find their way, thinking, oh, this is going to really, really help them. I had no idea it was going to be helping me.
Well, because I used to do those. Yeah, I used to go Wednesday night. I used to do a live session, and it became. And I want to say that I stopped doing that, and I'll say why. Similar to the reason why you stopped doing your blog was
Mhm,
because new people weren't interacting with it the way that I needed them or wanted them to interact it. And it's not necessarily a narcissistic thing. It's the fact
mhm,
that, okay, should I be spending my energy here? Because you remember, like, you only have a certain amount of energy, you only have a certain amount of hours in a day. So
mhm,
you want to make sure that you are getting, remember, I told you that 80/20, right? You want to
mhm,
make sure that you're doing that 20% that's going to give you the 80% of movement and motion. And I was like, well, I think when I looked at the time I was putting into it, there was a lot of planning that went behind
mhm,
it. It was exhausting for me too. I mean, because I'm doing stuff all day and then I have to be on a camera like, "Hi, how you doing?" It's like, whew, sometimes I just want to be like, "Hey guys, hi.
mhm.
This is what the information is. See you later, bye." Right? But
Yep.
I know that's not, you know, that, that's not fair. Even if no one is paying me to do it, that's still not fair to not bring my best, right?
Mhm,
And so I get what you're saying about the blog, right? Because you're
mhm.
like, you don't know, yeah, you can write all day, but is anybody reading it? Is anybody watching it? Is anybody, but with the YouTube, like all the stuff that Google has behind it, what's going
Mhm,
on. You know how your stuff is doing. I know that, people might sit there and say, oh, well, LinkedIn is this and LinkedIn is that. And I get some views on LinkedIn. I get things for things on LinkedIn. But I also know that sometimes with a lot of my videos when I go live, they do better on Facebook.
mhm.
And that's crazy to me because you would think with the topic that I'm talking about, it would absolutely be better on LinkedIn. But
Right.
people aren't watching videos on LinkedIn. And remember, we talked about what LinkedIn was for. People are looking to do business, a business connection. But people are looking for information and being entertained on YouTube and on Facebook. So when you think about it, it does
Mhm,
make sense that you will get more
mhm.
views on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I guess I'm giving you guys a piece of the class on how we talk. That's how, when you break it down, because you have to make sure you're putting your energy there. But I get it. Giving information away for free is something that, well, I got in trouble. My mom, my sister, everybody, my son. Stop doing everything for free. I'm like, oh, but they need help. But you need help. Your bills are saying, hey, help me.
I know so many people who, are in dire straits right now. I mean, the economy's, it is what it is, and more and more people are getting laid off like every single. It used to be every, twice a year. Now it's like it seems like it's gone from every quarter to every month there are layoffs. And so it's tough. You kind of walk that fine line of how do I pay my bills, but at the same time, give back. And I think, I just watched this documentary on Muhammad Ali where it says service is the rent you pay for your space here on earth. And that's exactly what I believe. And, I've always tried to do and give back with service ever since I was young because, there, but for the grace of God, go I. And so it doesn't I'm not a lawyer, so me telling you my estate planning experience, I'm not taking away from my lawyer business by giving you that experience. I have to look at it from that point of view. And I also too, I know I have a husband that still works.
But
But for
right.
those people
But
who,
that makes a big deal because if you didn't have that, then you would probably, think of things a different way, right? Because if you didn't
and
have a
I
husband.
might, but I still know me. I probably just because everybody in the class kept telling me, Vicky, you need to sell that. You need to sell that. I go, yeah, but I'm not an expert in that. So I didn't feel like that was my job to sell an estate planning guide because I only know Vicky's world here sitting in Los Angeles County, California. And you know me, if I can't give 100%, I give nothing.
Well, I think what it is that not necessarily that you're giving an estate planning guide, but you can give because what you're giving them, like you got to think about it. What you are giving them is your story,
Mhm,
right? And people are listening to your story of how you went through this and how you figured this stuff out and how what did you think about and what you encountered. And your story is the value, not necessarily that you are the expert that you are going to give you legal because you're not a lawyer, you're not
mhm,
an estate planner, you're not doing all those things, but hey, if you don't ask these questions of your caregiver, these are the pitfalls that you might go through,
mhm,
and you give them these are what I do. Think about what else you might want to ask because that's all you can do. I mean, like this is not 1+1 = 2. There's no right answer here, right?
mhm.
There's no
Exactly.
right answer here. So that's why you give it and you give the caveat, hey, your situation may slightly different, but this was my perspective.
Mhm,
Everybody gives their perspective of how things are. Like now, am I a MBA teacher and I have my doctorate in marketing and business planning and that? No, but I do know what needs to happen because I saw it, I work with it, and unfortunately, I worked in a lot of little business. When I changed, trying to start
mhm,
helping really focus in on smaller businesses, I saw the knowledge debt
mhm,
that small businesses have, especially small business owners of color.
mhm,
There's a knowledge debt there, and when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, this is and it's I don't want them to sit there and think, and other things like, the elitism, right? You ever take those classes and they're
mhm.
just talking like, you're like, wait, what was that? You just said 12 letters for the? Like, why didn't you just say the? Why do you have to say this long word? You
Yeah.
know? And that's another thing that I wanted to do when I made those classes, when I do any type of coaching, is I try to make it that people understand.
And that's what I loved about it. We were all lay people helping you build your program. And we would come to you and say, you need to spell that out a little bit more because we don't understand it. And you never once pushed back and said, this is my program. This is how I do it. You really took the time to put it out there for us so that we understood it. And then it was incorporated in the materials going forward because everyone's going to come in at a different level. And even if they came in at a higher level than somebody else, I still think those people would appreciate it being down here as well.
You guys asked about prioritization. I remember we ran over. You're like, well, I don't know what to do first, and then I made a whole semi session for you guys to do prioritization because I'm like, okay, now I'm going to say this is that it's like I'm going to see if I can get my finger is this way. Okay,
Yeah.
I can't I can't get my finger to go the right way. Right? Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Optimize. You because of that, right? And after that, people asking me, well, I get it, but I still don't know what to do first. That's where I created my framework of optimize. You're at the right things and are anchored in the right things. I always told you guys to make sure you're anchoring things in your objectives and your values, right?
Hmm.
I always told you guys to create value-based businesses because that's the way you'll love them, as opposed to just making money businesses,
Right.
right? Because you guys aren't working these jobs because you have to pay your bills. You started a business so you can do something that you love as well as make money. So you need to make sure you have your objectives and your values. So that's why I came up with the optimize. In high school, my math teacher told me a good mathematician was a lazy one, and I was really great at math. So I create frameworks so I can plug it into your business. I don't care what kind of business you have. It can fit you. Because if I'm going to work agnostically as far as industry is concerned, as far as business level and knowledge, I need to be able to have something that I can use. Not, oh, let me think of something. I talked to Vicky today. Oh, God, talk to Frank tomorrow. I would drive myself crazy.
I think that's the other part too, is like the reason why I messed up my website is, everybody has their idea of what it should be like. And then you listen to this person and they say you need these 5 plugins. And then you listen to this person, oh no, you need these 10 plugins. And there was like no really good sit down and say, if you are building a website and you're just going to do a blog, all you need is XYZ. If you're going to build a Shopify store, you need ABCD. There wasn't any of that out there. And so I think that's what I really kind of appreciate, anybody who can take and say, when you are just starting out, this is all you need. When you're trying to do something else, then this is what you add to it. Because everybody everywhere is an expert on everything, but no one is really putting it into frameworks that really make sense. So I think there was someone who just recently did a video, I think it was Old Mike, said, I jumped into YouTube and I did what everybody said. I started even creating an email list. He goes, I don't even have an email provider. I don't even do newsletters, but I did it because that's what everybody told me to do. And I think that's where we're getting lost, is everybody's just running around. I take this piece here. I take this piece here. I take this piece here. And we flounder. And then it gets so overwhelming, we quit. But that's why I
It's
really
a
appreciated going through auditing your class for you, even though I said, oh, I'm just here to help Rolanda, and didn't realize that, things were sticking, and it helped me along, my YouTube and I should say blog and YouTube journey.
and looking at where you are with it, and like on your reluctant journey, but you're here now,
I think
and
part
I
of my
think that yeah, you're reluctant. I mean,
no,
but so
I'm saying
now,
I think part of my reluctance also had to do with the fact that I thought I had to be on, and I thought I had to be something that people would want me to be in order to resonate. And I think that's another reason why I hid behind the cartoon. But then when I started being me, and it's like, okay, this is it. This is what you get. This is what you have. And
hmm
I've seen so many people, you know, on YouTube creating a persona that they can't live up to, and they eventually quit because it goes against everything that they are. And that's one thing that I didn't want to ever have to do that, because like I said, the last, I want to say 8 to 10 years of my career, everything corporate America went against all my moral values. And I wasn't going to jump into, the blog or YouTube and also give up my morals, because no, not this stage of the game. It's over. And so this is it. And I actually had people tell me, why are you even talking about that? Nobody wants to hear about it. You should talk about this. You should talk about that. That's not what I want to talk about, because I want to spare people from what I went through. That's it. I'm not going to go off and talk about retirement. Yeah, I mentioned high level that I got, laid off. And so I'm in retirement. Now I have the time to do this. And I was able to do that because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know more about that, go check out these channels. I'm not the one for you. But I I got to stay true to what I know and where I feel I can bring the most value to people. Whether or not people want to hear what I have to say right now, sometimes they come back and go, crap, that made, I should have listened. And to me, that's the biggest win, when people say, screw you. And then they come back and say, you were right.
well, I'm gonna say this for you is that the beautiful thing about that is that by being on YouTube, you're not interrupting anybody's life. If they find you, they're looking for some of
Hmm.
what you're talking about. So that's the beautiful thing about YouTube. And I know that I'm creating a YouTube, and you already know that I'm starting my YouTube journey in the next few months, because a lot of the stuff that I have, I want to be able to give it away, and I want to be able to teach people certain things and
Hmm.
show that value Of course, I do, like I said, I do consulting work, I do coaching work, I work with people that of all different stages of life, as
Hmm.
far as, people that are making crazy money or people that are making or just starting out. But I come to everybody, and this is my goal because, like you were saying, being true to yourself, me too. I
Hmm.
come with everybody with the same level of openness and intensity as far as where you are in your journey. I'm not going to say, well, you know what, I know, if you ask me a question, my mom was like, well, stop giving people the answer. Mom, they ask me a question, I'm going to give them the answer. I told my mom, it's like, if they don't want to do right by me, that's on them, because I know that, yeah, I know it's business and this and that, whatever, but you're never going
Hmm.
to find anybody that's going to be as genuine to you as I am, because I like to be all up in your business, and you know it. Like I like to be all up in your business. Like I want to know what you're doing. I want to know where you're, and also personally as well, especially for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, because it's not just about the business that you're creating over here.
Hmm.
It's about the life that you're living over here, because they have to come together at some point, and you can't
Yeah.
have one over the other. They have to be together. And 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 I'm glad that you found your way with a little bit of encouragement. With a little bit of encouragement.
FYI, it's
Patience.
still a passion project.
But guess what? But I told you, a passion project can always make money. A passion project. It doesn't mean it is not making money. And you think about it, when you're looking at it, you're being strategic about everything. Remember, I told you that's the S word, the curse word is not an F word, and it was an S word. Every time I said strategy, you guys were like, but I might as well said the F bomb to you guys when I said strategy. But with that in your mind, with the planning and the strategy work in your mind, and you're thinking of things from not from reactive and being proactive, like you're launching your stuff. You're figuring out what it is you want to do. You didn't just rush into it. And because sometimes when we rush, we forget stuff, right? How many
Hmm.
times have you rushed out the house to go somewhere and you're like, oh, I forgot. You know, but I'm proud of you. I mean, I can't wait to tell everybody that what y'all everything you're doing. I mean, I know you're still in contact with most of the people there. But yeah, I just want to make sure. I mean, I just love it. I just love the fact that you found your voice. First of all, you had your voice, and you're just like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to use it, and you used it in a way that you wanted to see, and you just proved my point of being yourself is the most important thing that you can be. Right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And I think the reason why I wanted you on to come and have this little chat with me was one, for me to publicly thank you, because I've done it privately, but I wanted to publicly thank you for pushing me into seeing it the way you saw it. And now the way you saw it wasn't a bad way to see it. I think someone else said, as Christians who go out into the world and want to help people, we 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 have this bad connotation of money or help. And I still believe that I'm helping more than making money, because that's my goal. My goal is like, if I'm not making money, I'm not going to do this because I'm still going to do this.
Right.
um, it's not a closing up shop for me. I'm still going to come out here. I'm still going to bully and push people and say, you need to do this. But I think that's where we get stuck into our own mindset of we money and help don't mix, but they can mix. And especially if you're doing something like this, because this isn't cheap. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap. Like I said, having your domain name, you got to register that. You got to pay for that. If you want to have a website, yeah, there's some free places that you can do a website, but you still have to do other stuff to get that website up and running. You got to have your pictures and your collateral, and you got to know how to write your blog posts and post them, and you got to know how to take your YouTube videos. And yeah, I'm going to tell everybody right now, I use a webcam when I do these, and I use my phone. I don't have a lot of, equipment that I went and bought, but still on the back end, there's still costs to it between money and time. You got to weigh what's important to you. If your message is really important to you, but you think you got to spend a lot of money to get your message out, you don't. And that's where your your classes help put that in perspective to me too, because you can find yourself going crazy, paying, but until you write it down, until you look and see how much money you're spending versus how much money that's coming in, you set yourself up for hurt when you actually have to stop the free stuff because you've made it so expensive it's not free.
Just to say this to you that you said thank you to me. I want to say thank you to you in the class, because sometimes that class reminded me as a business owner of things that I needed to be doing as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, like, you know what, you're not doing that right. You gotta, you're telling people to do the right thing. How they say, do as I say, not as I do. And I'm like, no, like, you made these mistakes before. That's how you know about them. So why are you getting ready to do that again, right?
Yeah.
So, so a lot of the stuff that I was saying about, and I told you guys, there's always free avenues to do stuff to start with, right? Remember, I was like, when we all started with Canva, I was like, just do the free Canva. And then
Yes.
once everybody started doing Canva, we're like, oh, okay, if you want it, because my thing is like, figure out what do you want to do for free,
Mm-hmm.
get a little taste of it, and then figure out, do I want to invest in that? Like, a lot of
Right.
people were like, oh, I'm going to have to buy this. I'm like, no, no,
Yes.
no. And I guess I was the only, like, I guess the only coach out here that tells people don't buy it. Like,
Yes.
don't buy it. Get the free version and see how it is first.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And because so many, like, I'm like, because I understand as a business owner, you have to be frugal with your money. You want to be able to make sure you are profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And, as you already know, that, I do a lot of this stuff for free that I do. And you're right, there is a cost.
Mm-hmm.
There's a prep cost. There's
Mm-hmm.
we're on Zoom. I use Zoom as well. If I'm restreaming it, if I'm streaming out, you have one of those things. Those
Mm-hmm.
those are things, and and me trying to help people that don't have any money. That's why I started the GoFundMe page to help offset some of the stuff that I was doing. Because I was like, this is starting to cost a lot of money. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say this to anybody that's watching you: if you are out here and you are looking for your next place, trust yourself and trust that there are good people out here that's out here to give information freely. And if you have any questions, and I'm here too. Vicky knows that if anybody you want to contact Vicky will contact me. I'm telling you that because I believe that we are in this all together. This is crazy. This time to me feels unprecedented. I know people say that every single year, but
Yes.
this year it really does feel like that, because I've never saw, like you were saying, you like once a quarter you have this, and then a little bit, then this or whatever, maybe one big thing a year. But it seems like every month is more people getting laid off, more people getting laid off. And even in the healthcare,
Yes.
there are more big healthcare companies are laying people off. And I'm like, why? You know, why? What is going on here? And I live in Pennsylvania, and when we just had our big hospital closed down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't need a hospital, right?
Yeah.
And the people in the area where that hospital, think they have to travel, I forget how far now, to get to the nearest hospital, to another state.
Yeah, I recently did a video about it's okay to not be okay. People can reach out to me. I got emails, I got texts, I got calls from people, what's going to happen to my Medicare, my Social Security. My coworker hasn't been to work in 2 weeks and nobody can reach him. And he's not undocumented, but he's brown skinned and he's just come up missing. And one person went to their immigration hearing that they thought was going to be their final immigration hearing before they, became a citizen. And then they never even made it into the court. So, after hearing all these stories, and I just broke that day and I just had to get that off of my chest. And I just created just a ranting, raving video about it because I was not okay. I was not okay. Let me rephrase that. I was okay with everybody that came to me with their pain, but I was not okay holding it in.
I saw
I
I saw
had to,
that.
I had to let it out when I could because I couldn't let it out when they were talking to me. I had to be the
Right.
voice of reason. I had to be the voice of consolation to them. And it was a huge cross to bear. And the day that I lost it was the day that I had talked to 10 people and 10 of the most heart-wrenching stories that I'd heard back to back to back to back. And it just broke me. And like a lot of people think, so many of us, we're strong. Yeah, we're strong and we can put on a brave face. But we can only be strong for so long. And with all the chaos that is around us, guys, it is okay to not be okay. You don't have to stuff it. You don't have to pretend that everything is fine.
It is crazy like that sometimes, and we're all here. in this together, even though it doesn't feel that way. And, it's like we only can do but so much. Whatever we have to do it. I mean, sometimes I'll sit there and say that I look at this situation, I look at what's going on, and then I was like, like I want to give more. And I'm like, but I can't, because I have to fill in my cup. And that's, like you're saying, we can be only but so strong. We only could do but so much. So all of us that are out here that can do something to help another person, we should all try it, because we never know where it is. And again, that's why I started, giving the free classes. That's why I created that fund, because bills have to get paid. And if I'm spending time doing this, I'm not doing the other work, but I would still do it. That's what people say. I'm going to do it as far as I can do it, right? I'm going to keep giving the free classes. I'm going to keep doing it. I just want to be able to help as many people as I can, whichever way they want to do it. If they're starting a business, if you already started a business, if you're thinking about starting a business, if you have a business that is failing and you don't know if you need coaching or consulting, I tell people all the time, just reach out to me, and we can have a conversation. And as you know, I don't charge, people charge for those discovery calls. Like, a conversation is not, I can talk to you. I can give you a half an hour of I can even give you an hour of my time if it's going to go somewhere, right? Because I feel as though that sometimes people just need to have that conversation and seeing where they are, where they can fit in, and any help that they can get from me. And I'm glad that I was able to help you. And hopefully, from your audience, if there's anybody that looking to talk to me, feel free, talk to me. Like I said, I don't, Becky can tell you, I'm not a pressure person. I let you be, because I understand it. I hate to be pressured. I hate it, so I don't pressure anybody. I hate to be pressured. Oh, don't pressure me, because even if I want it, I'm not going to get it from you.
Right.
I'm just not. Yeah. So I appreciate this moment with you, and I appreciate celebrating with you.
And I appreciate being able to tell everybody I would the Fonzie. You can't say I was wrong. But
and you know what? You weren't wrong. You just had to figure it out for yourself in what felt comfortable. And I think part of it too was because you had that other person before you started working with me that was pushing you so much that you and I knew that you had to make sure that every step you took felt comfortable for you.
If you made it this far with me, thanks for watching. If you are a small business owner or just a content creator looking for ways to sustainably grow and manage your passion, your hobby, or maybe you're completely unlike me and you really want to make it a business, I'll leave the links to Rolanda Michelle's YouTube channel and website below. Feel free to contact her. And if you found any value in this video, please give it a thumbs up and drop a comment below and let me know, what advice did you ignore that you finally actually incorporated into your life? And on the flip side, if someone gave you some advice that was completely off base and you completely ignored it, what did you do instead? If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so now. Make sure that I can see you in the next video.